So, ladies and gentlemen, to moderate this session, we have the esteemed presence of Arnab Ghosh, who's the Managing Director, Corporate Fitouts, Colliers, India. Arnab ji is a highly experienced real estate professional with close to 3 decades of experience in the industry. I'm not even that old, and that's the amount of experience. Unbelievable, amazing, fantastic. Arnab ji has extensive exposure in managing various aspects of project development, including design, cost, and construction management across various asset classes. Over the last decade, he has led various teams to deliver more than 20 million square feet of fitted out spaces for corporate clients all over the country. And now I'll be talking about our speakers in alphabetical order. Today we have with us the esteemed presence of Ajay Koshy, who's the head design management from Brigade Group. Ajay ji has been associated with a group of more than 12 years and oversees in the design management of all residential and commercial office spaces and retail and hospitality projects all across the geographies. He has rich experience in coordinating with reputed architects, designers, hotel operators, and other building consultants, both from India and abroad, and has been responsible for the successful design, closure, and construction of more than 50 million square feet at Brigade Group. We also have with us today Dr. Anup Naik, who's the founder and CEO, Urban Frame Private Limited, a space matrix group company. Dr. Anup Naik's work experience of 28 years has spanned across countries like Morocco, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Kenya, Vietnam, and India. His core specialization has seen him actively involved with the Smart City mission as an independent director of Smart City Bengaluru, as a built environment expert, heritage for Shivamoga Smart City, and as a waterfront consultant for Bengaluru Smart City. We also have with us today Deepu Prakash, Managing Director, Aedium Design. Deepu ji is a design thinker with a perennial record of success driving strategies and capitalizing on opportunities that have led to multi-million-dollar growth. He spearheads the business development strategies for global design and PM consultancies in Southeast Asia, beg your pardon, with a major emphasis on countries in the Indian subcontinent and MENA. Nagakrupa Srinidhi, Director Development Management, RMZ. We also have Nagakrupa ji with us today, a qualified architect with over 27 years of experience, focused on delivering world-class commercial real estate. She has been responsible for the conceptualization, design, and delivery of commercial office spaces to Fortune 500 customers over the last 2 decades. Her expertise lies in managing the design and development of complex, large-scale, mixed-use developments that involve office, retail, and residential typologies, of course. We also have with us today Sowmya Prakash ji, Senior Vice President, Provident Housing. With more than 2 decades of experience as an architect, Sowmya has worked on both sides of the real estate aisle with consultants as well as developers on commercial, retail, and residential projects. Her design philosophy revolves around the homeowner's living experience by prioritizing their health, safety, and contentment. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever I needed to say, I have said it. Now it's your turn to clap and appreciate in large numbers with high intensity as I welcome all our guests over here with me on stage. Can I please have a huge round of applause for all our guests as I welcome them on stage? Can I please have all of you on stage, please? Yes. Yeah, I think we need to place the chairs a little better. Maybe like in a U, inverted U or something.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Looking
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sapna and Realty Plus, for the invite. Always a pleasure to come to a Realty Plus event. My name is Arnab Ghosh, and I happen to manage the corporate fit-out vertical for Colliers India. Before we start the discussion, let me tell you it is amazing to see the amount of experience, knowledge, and expertise in front of me. Each of the panelists today are respected names in the industry and has been involved in designing, creating, developing millions of square feet of built environment. I feel privileged to moderate this panel today. Please note I am not the subject matter expert here, so please do bear with me. The plan is to pick all of your brains and maybe provoke you a little so that we can all go back home a little more aware, a little more enlightened. So we will have 2 rounds of questions followed by a Q&A session. The topic is unlocking innovation and creativity in built environment. Let us be honest, as a country we are extremely terrible in design awareness and struggling to build our cities in the right manner. Our built environment is mostly ugly, unplanned, and unapologetic, with some exceptions to the rule. We revel in the organic and fluid environment. Our regulatory framework is basic and subject to repeated violations. In that context, talking about innovation and creativity in built environment is like building castles without a foundation. However, to set the ball rolling, let me start with my first question for Deepu. I will not follow any order here. So, what are the key challenges that architects and urban designers will face in the coming decade in India and around the world? The idea is once we are aware of the challenges, maybe we can figure out ideas and solutions to address them.
Of course. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm honored to share the stage with all our learned panelists. There'll be a lot of learning and unlearning also out here. So the world is changing at a very unprecedented pace. And so is the practice of architecture. So there are a lot of challenges that we see around in the built space. Now, these could be across various realms, including environment, it could be cultural, it could be socioeconomic, and I think the very important thing is to be designing for resilience, is what I feel in the current context. And in the next decade, all these challenges are also going to go up. We have been seeing how our buildings and cities are performing in terms of extreme weather conditions. We have seen how the flood happened in Bangalore, and for the first time I saw NDRF getting involved. Similarly, we have been seeing that happening in other cities as well. So we should be looking at how are our cities and buildings being designed to work around climate impact, look at designing net zero buildings with zero carbon emissions. We should be addressing the criteria of urban planning, which should be inclusive. We should look at water scarcity. We should look at waste management. All of this, comes in together. We also have the aspect of technology that's come in now. So, while we were having this discussion on AI just a while ago, it's been used mostly for pretty pictures, but we should do beyond that. We should look at evidence-based design, see how we are building, building what you've designed is working out, how was the design process being optimized, how is the building performance being optimized, and look at data analytics and so on. So we have a long way to go. The other issue that also I see is land is becoming very scarce. So there's a lot of urbanization happening, population growth happening. There could be more, vertical cities coming up. The concept of mixed-use development is also coming in today, where multiple building typologies and uses are integrated, like residential, commercial, healthcare, all coming in together. And we've been seeing a lot of, a lot of the developer fraternity is already moving into it. So Brigade is doing something, RMZ is also, and a lot many others are doing. So we're all going into that side. And what I feel is that there are a lot of challenges, but there are also opportunities around.
Thank you, Deepu. Thank you for reading out the problem statement. It's obviously there is huge amount of challenges, but I think the top three can be, the climate effect of, extreme climate, pollution, and rapid urbanization also.
Rapid urbanization,
So it's all
yes.
these are creating, putting a lot of pressure on the cities, and we need to figure out how to handle it. So my next question is for Ajay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Ajay. So we know the challenges. Now let's talk about the solution. So do you think the country is open to experimenting with unconventional ideas when it comes to urban built environment? Or is there still a resistance to bold innovation and creativity? I'm talking in context of India.
Firstly, thank you, Arnab, for this question. And it's the first time that I'm in a panel with such distinguished guests. I think we should meet more often. It's sad that all of us get to meet only for these panel discussions, but I think we have a lot to learn and share amongst. Even though we are competitors in the field, I think there's lots to learn amongst us. So it'll be good that we have more and more such meetings, and I definitely hope to do that. So I think everybody is kind of complaining and sad about the fact India is kind of the state of the infrastructure. You mentioned about buildings being ugly. But I think that more than challenges, this is an opportunity for us, for all of us, to make a difference. These things are great because it only shows us that there's lots more that can be done. And as designers, as developers, as design managers within the developer fraternity, we should look at these as being opportunities for us to do better. And all of us are, I would say, my group is definitely trying to do that. And I'm sure other groups are as well trying to do that. As far as innovation is concerned, I think innovation across all spheres is not only has to be done, I think it's critical. Everybody has to be innovative, not only when it comes to design, it's innovation when it comes to construction, it's innovation when it comes to sales and marketing, it's innovation when it comes to being sustainable, it's innovation, Deepu mentioned about being net zero. How do we make sure that our carbon footprint, our pollution levels are contributing less and less? The building industry contributes about 60% to carbon emissions. So how do we be innovative there to kind of reduce the carbon footprint? So innovation is something that is critical for all of us to do, and it's important for us to be innovative in everything that we do in real estate. But at the same time, when you talk about being bold and innovative, we need to be cognizant of who we're designing for, who we're building for. We're building for the end user, for the customer, whether it's a leasable tenant in an office space or whether it's a resident who's living in one of our apartments. We need to ensure that the basic requirements of that end user are met, whatever innovation that we do, whether it's in design, whether we give large open spaces, large windows for light and ventilation, whether we cater to vastu requirements, car parking, landscape, interiors. We need to ensure that we cater to the basic requirements of the end user, and that needs to be met.
Yeah, okay, thank you. It's about, I think, when you're talking about innovation and you have, on behalf of the group that you represent, you have the freedom to decide how you want to, develop a certain project. So when you're doing that, is there any resistance you feel from your end users, whether in the residential or in the commercial sector, or you feel you know where the world is heading and this is the way forward, and you will be able to convince your end user to accept the innovation or the creativity that you are, putting in your projects?
I think yes, to an extent you'll be able to convince them of innovation. I wouldn't say that they're resistant to innovation, but as long as their end basic uses and basic requirements are met, they'll be very, very susceptible and acceptable to innovation. Definitely there is no resistance. Every day we try to be more and more innovative. It's important for us to be competitive, and the more we innovate, I think, the more we'll be able to be more competitive.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajay. In the olden days, there used to be few monarchs who used to give a free hand to the architects to, execute their dream projects, right? Today, we have the government, large institution, and the large developers playing that role. So my next question is for Krupa in that context. What challenges do established developers face when trying to incorporate new innovative design ideas in a highly regulated industry? And how do you overcome them? I'm talking in context of the regulation and the laws or the compliance that you need to follow. And how do your conversation with the public bodies, how do you navigate that aspect of development?
Thank you, Arnab, and thank you, Realty Plus, for having us here. Interesting question. I would like to shy away from the word challenge, because the way we've always looked at is as an opportunity. So anything can be looked at as a challenge or as an opportunity. So being in this space of a developer slash asset owner, I would say that we have a huge responsibility on our shoulders. I'm told we are in India bringing a stock of 1 billion square feet of real estate, commercial alone, by 2030. And that is staggering, and that responsibility is huge.
It's scary.
It's scary. So, we're in a space now where we don't have a choice but to innovate, don't have a choice but to make that impact and difference. I think what COVID did to New York City, to San Francisco, today you have around, I think, 95 million square feet of commercial office spaces lying vacant and unoccupied in New York City. Can you believe that? Who would have thought? The most bustling, most go-to place in the world. And they're struggling. They don't know what to do with that built space. They're hugely loaded with debts. So see,
WeWork also went bust.
Yeah. So really, see, the thing is, this is scary, so we better get to the crux of the problem. And I think that's one of the best things that COVID did to us, is to wake us up from this dreamlike existence that we had, that nothing would go wrong. Everything is fine and dandy. Today, it woke us up to reality that, it can be different. Things can still work. Things are very different today. The way people look at an office is very different today. So what we've moved towards consciously is a people-centric development, or people at the heart of our whole thought process, right? Who, like he said, who are you designing for? It's all about the people. And we are social beings. We want to connect. We want to collaborate. Why would anybody want to come back to work? That would be the only single most attractive, aspect of going back to work today. Because otherwise, work's happening from home, work's happening hybrid, work's happening from anywhere. It's not about just work today. It's about how you connect, how you establish that collab, and that's how we are sort of understanding that it's how can you feed the basic need of the social being that humans are. And therefore, we've actually, at RMZ, coined a word called social design or social spaces. So every office development of ours is not just a place you come to work to. It's not a steel and glass box anymore where you sort of sit and, type away at your desks. It's every building is porous. The more nature inside out, the better. The more collaborative, the better. The more experiential it is, the better. So what we've done is like, sort of map a typical individual's day beginning at, say, 6 a.m., ending at, say, 11 p.m. What would a typical individual want in his day? We've tried to cater all of that in our spaces, starting from a gym to a pool to a coffee place, a breakfast place, then a collab space where you can, have your meetings, lunch place where you meet up with your colleagues, dinner place, entertainment, well-being spaces where you can go to. So this is the thought process. In a way, like Ajay said, it's all moving to mixed use. And how can we leverage our spaces to do more than just what the primary use of it is,
But while
It's-
doing that,
Yeah.
are you facing any regulatory constraint?
See, we, we really don't do anything that is, not within the framework of the regulation. So
Obviously, huh? But
I am,
is there a
So-
gap? What you want to do, but you're not able to do
exactly.
because
So that today is, when it comes to sustainability, I'm seeing that gap because as IPCs, I'm sure you would understand, there is a certain RFP that come to us which says, da 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 da, this is my power requirement, this is my high-speed diesel requirement, blah blah blah, non-negotiable. You either qualify or you don't. Now, where's the question of innovation? If I'm a bidder for this tenant, now if I don't do A, B, C, D, E, do I still qualify? This is the conversation we're trying to move in the industry, trying to educate the stakeholders, including my
Your end
dear
users,
friends, the IPCs, to please wake up that if we have to do something, if we have to really make an impact, we have to start from the basics. It can't just be very superficial. Why are we giving so much power when we're not using so much power, which is clearly, the data is available. Everyone knows they're not using 60, not even 60%, up to 30, 40% of the power requirement that has been asked for in the first place. So why are we over designing our buildings?
I understand. I
So
think
the regulations want us. So for example, even for, I always questioned even the toilet requirements, I think we over-design toilets in India because the NBC says blah, 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 you need to do, you have a host of toilets sitting there. It's not a critical need. It's not a fire escape staircase. I understand you're not designing emergency exits. That I agree. But everywhere I've been abroad, I've seen people are okay to stand in a queue to use the restroom. It's fine. It's not something, extraordinary that as soon as I go there, I need to have an empty space to get
the
into.
problem
So
is the
things like
NBC
these-
states a certain density, which can change, depending on the guy who is occupying that plate. So maybe you follow the NBC, you will be safer even if the density changes, later. But anyway, the IPCs are just messenger boys, okay?
So I'm saying we all need to make
But
a
I think
difference
about
collectively.
excessive power requirement, especially which used to come from the IT guys. I think a lot of the MNCs are also have their own constraint. They have signed some agreements. So they are also obviously looking at all these aspects now. So I think that's where it will start changing. So thank you, Krupa, for
Thank you,
the response. Now we just finished COP29, and they have they've taken various initiatives. That includes the Climate Finance Fund for Developing Nations has increased 3 times now. They have recognized the importance of built environment, underlining that one size does not fit all. And basically, they're going bold on the building, the construction industry. The construction industry also needs to be, aware and take actions on the climate-related issues. So my question to Anup now is, what are the strategies being used by designers now to reduce the environmental impact of buildings while still allowing for creative expression? So are we slowly going to see the death of ACP and glass or not?
I don't know where to start. It was quite a large set of preamble to this. But let me try to. I don't think so. There is one answer for this, but I kind of put it under let's say, some 10 points, what we can look at. Then we can take this forward. Uh, I think it just come from all of us that buildings eventually need to give you feedback, right? So the idea is if you can turn buildings into living organisms, that means there is a continuous feedback mechanism. Most often, I think we miss the first principle that we're designing buildings for people, because all our rating systems today are talking about how a building is functioning well. I think we should just turn the loop around and say, how are the people, are you having happy people in this space? That was one. The other one was when you touched upon this idea of what's happening in the US. Of late, I've heard that large parts of New York have now got into this whole mandate of stop demolishing, start transforming. So what they're doing is there is a very interesting gentrification process which is happening, that commercial buildings are slowly getting to be stripped in the sense of either facade but repurposed. They're not stripped, not demolishing it, but getting repurposed for residential requirement. So that's a very interesting gentrification dimension you will see. The other is to be, I would put it under a bucket of where it's a little note for the designers, for all of us who are here, is to be as passive right as possible. Because we believe that at the end of the day, there would be a technology which will save you. And that's fair enough. That's a technology view to it. But what's happening is that we must also realize that large projects, I'm sure, take 4 to 5 years to deliver. Very, very simply, that much amount of time. So as a designer, when I step into the process, within the first 6 to 7 months, design process is done, then it goes into process of execution. So what it means at that moment of time is that I'm always delivering a technology which is probably 4 to 5 years old. That means it's very different from how the car industries work. So I think a lot of us is a good reference point from how that industry is either just in time or they're as compliant to what is relevant at that moment of time. So it's very interesting from an architecture point of view that we're always delivering technology 4 to 5 years old, or from that sense. Then I would say make buildings smarter, because I think it's important to start looking at smarter buildings because they continuously start giving you feedback. That was an earlier point. Then it comes back to how we're dealing with energy, water, and waste. Sustainability, I think, to a large extent, I would say, I know a lot of you will throw bricks at me, but I think it is passed away. We should start looking at dimensions of what is net zero. I think that's what is the future, because I think we're reasonably aligned to some aspect of sustainability. And there's a research which we're doing, and a lot of our rating systems, it's quite interesting that if you get a fundamental basic rating today, your passive components are the highest. But if you keep on going for higher ratings, your active component starts becoming higher and higher. So that means you're actually looking at active components to start making your environment far more sustainable. So it's a very interesting cusp of a conversation we should start deliberating on, at least at this larger community level, to how to tweak that. So it's pushing us to be as passive right as possible in a future sense. So I have a mantra that is that's saying, cool the city, one building at a time. So that's a possibility. So if that's something which we can pick. I think as from a designer fraternity, there is a dimension which we need to start looking at, is to design to heal and not to sustain. So for me, I would navigate across these 7 to 8 points to kind of answer your answer your question.
Thank you, Anup. I think we'll now go to Sowmya. I'm bringing some different aspect of development here. I would like to know what role do community engagement is there in the creative process of urban development? How can designers incorporate the voices of the local communities into their projects? When you do large-scale developments, how can that be integrated with the surrounding environment in the most creative way? Do you really think about it, or is just a land parcel which a design brief and you go ahead and design and execute it, or is there anything that goes in the mind of the developer that how do I also integrate with the surrounding? Because definitely when you do a large scale development, it will affect the surrounding environment.
Thanks, Arnab, and thanks Realty Plus for having us here, wonderful friends of mine in this panel. To answer this question, I would just want to summarize as to what process we go through even before we maybe onset of a project, even before we have it in the mind, there's a process what we follow. The product doesn't come just like that wherever we have to develop. There is a sort of analysis what we do, a market analysis what we do. It's a macro market study and a micro market study. Macro is more about how the supply, demand, and geographical conditions. If I'm talking about micro market, I have to understand who are my segmentation of customers who are going to be there for my product. So that segmentation takes me to various demographies across age, across gender, economic status, social, cultural, geographical. So based on this, we have to understand their lifestyles, their spending, their incomes, their aspirations, their tastes, everything, and age groups. If you talk about generations who live in my community, they are right from silent generations to the most sophisticated alpha, Gen Alpha, who are talking only about AI all the time. So I put these people in 3 buckets in terms of technological integration, what I have to do for these generations. For me, the silent generations and baby boomers are my parents or my grandparents who have mobility issues. For them, the technology requirement is completely different. You have sensor-based, you have lifetime alerts, and you have fall detections, all that integrations. The next category is we, who come into Gen X, and millennials. We are so concerned in the workplace if my kids are fine at home, if my parents are safe at home. So we have integration in our systems, laptop, to see how things are going at home. And we are also conscious about how much of environment-friendly designs we are giving, how much of sustainable designs we are giving, how responsible are we to the environment. This is about the educational category of the people we are catering to. Then coming to the most energetic class, the children. And they want to be playing around, they want their mental development, physical development. So you have a lot of simulation activities in the clubhouses. So this is just one aspect of the technology, what we are addressing for the age group. Coming to the cultural, there is no one rule for any cultural aspect of people. Chennai, people requirements are different. Bangalore is more cosmopolitan, they want get-togethers. Home is not just a confinement of living space, they want, spillover of terraces, balconies, and we have beautiful climate here, which is so conducive for this activities. And Kochi is more of a NRI investment crowd. They are not the end users to majority of the extent. So these geographical conditions also form a way of perception of our design. Apart from that, if you're talking about community engagement, we do that also. We touch base with our existing customers to understand how their lifestyles have evolved over the past few years. What are their requirements? What are their pain points? What can we do better from the previous project? So innovation is just a continuous process across every project. That's a recipe for my project, if I would say.
Thank you, Sowmya. You talked about how you design and looking at all the various demographies of your end users, right? So while that is obviously required when you're designing, I also wanted to know, does this development speak to the environment outside the development, or does it become an island or a silo in itself? Because that's what I've seen happening across or around Bangalore when somebody makes a township itself integrated. It's everybody. Once you enter that development, you are kind of cut off from the outside world. So, do you really think about it, or do you just let it, the way it will happen naturally, organically, you allow that to happen?
Definitely, there is an integration because it is not an exclusive development.
Correct.
And we are no more talking about gated communities. It's all like open. And any master plan, urban planning, what you do, you have reservations for the categories of marginalized people, and they are housed within the community. There's very much inclusivity of those people, may it be drivers, may it be maids, and you're creating so much of employment in the development from the community. If you say you have a 35-acre property and people are living there, everybody who works in that community are from the immediate neighborhoods. So that is how you are getting the inclusivity of those people. Your civic amenities, again, a public, semi-public building, which is based on the requirement of the community living in that proximity. So that's how it's integrated.
Thank you, Sowmya. See, now let's go to the second round. I will be doing, I will be asking the same question to each of the panelists. You know, a few days ago, I wrote a post where I said that I come from two Bangalores. One where life is good, and another where BBMP exists. So I don't know if I should feel happy or remain in an existentialist, crisis. So the point is, we all love our Bangalore, but also hate it in equal measure sometimes. So I just want to understand from each of you, what you feel is the biggest challenge facing today for Bangalore? And if given unlimited power, how would you fix it? Start with Ajay.
If I had unlimited power, I'll take a magic wand and I'll go back 30 years, probably, to the Bangalore that we all of us grew up in. But
that's because you've become 50 plus, I think.
Yeah. Okay, 20 years. Yeah. No, I think what Bangalore is probably lacking is a kind of a vision document, a comprehensive development plan, which is probably, it's been expired maybe 15 years now. And because there's a lack of vision in civic authorities, they're unable to kind of plan properly. Right now, it's very organic, the growth in Bangalore. Wherever there's space, buildings come up. There's no segregation of commercial spaces, residential spaces, public spaces, mixed-use spaces. So there has to be a kind of a comprehensive development plan that is studied and finally implemented. That implementation is not what is happening for a variety of reasons and for vested interest. So if I had unlimited power for 1 year, I'll ensure that the comprehensive development plan of the CDP, the vision document, is rolled out so that for the next 15 years, the civic authorities have a definite plan in place. The comprehensive development plan has to look at mobility. That's very important. How you move people from place to place. How you decongest certain areas of the city by improving public transport. A lot of us talked about New York and America, where parking is prohibited. If you have to provide car parking in your commercial buildings, you have to actually pay something. So that encourages public transport. But all that forms a part of this comprehensive development plan of the CDP. And I think if I had unlimited powers for 1 year, I'd ensure that this vision document is rolled out.
Thank you, Ajay. Anup, your take on it.
Scary to have power. But I think power comes with responsibility. I would actually place this under two critical aspects. One is from city's future proof. I think every city we take today, we have to have this ability to future proof it. It needs a serious resilience plan. I'm sure with the amount of climate change we are looking at it, I think there needs to be well documented, researched, and I think that would be the first thing which would put across. And resilience comes from multiple fold. Now imagine, I'll take one aspect of runoff, right? Today, take the idea of water runoff today. We are making water move faster and faster from point A to point B. And that is probably the biggest reason why we are flooding all over the place. So idea is to see how we can slow that. So resilience would mean that it would mean from water, it would mean from how I'm looking at myself from being off-grid as much as possible. So whether Bangalore in its larger vision can be...
we have become resilient in the traffic.
Yeah.
We move very slowly.
Correct. It is. It's also, I think, a cultural thing of the city that today the number of people who are using public transport, it is apparently the reports say it has become far better than what it was even say 5-6 years ago. And I think, yes, there was a report that's saying that average speed is from 12.5 kilometers per hour has become 15 kilometers per hour. So that itself is a big jump. But I think these come from this ability for us to create a very sound resilience plan to the city. Everything else dovetails into that. I go back, if there is a resilience plan, like then Ajay's CDP plan can come and sit into it and augment it further. And that would come from all fronts, people, planet, and the idea of actually looking at safer places for our citizens.
Thank you, Anup. Deepu?
I have a slightly different take. You know, if you tell me unlimited power, really scary. Rome wasn't built in a day, but a journey for 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So anything that you need to do needs a lot of conviction. And that conviction has to come from everyone, not just, a group of us sitting around and taking calls. Or it has to have a larger participatory approach. We have a lot of issues to address, right from environment to transportation to urbanization, all of them, and it takes time. What I feel that we lack is conviction, and it has to be an effort that is jointly put forward. Without that, no.
So you want to carry everyone along with you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Krupa?
Yeah. So I just want to just rewind a little bit and just bring the wonder that Bangalore was, because why are we here? Why do we want to live here? Why do we want to stay here generations? There was a reason why, right? The lakes, the trees, the reason that Bangalore was known for no longer exist. And development is one part of this story, but reclaiming Bangalore for what it was and creating resilience, thereafter creating Ajay's comprehensive development plan would have been the sequence that I would look at. Because first, stay with nature, don't mess with it, because someday it's going to come and get you. So we can't fight tsunamis, we can't fight floods, no matter how hard we try. We can't stop rainfall from coming when it chooses to. So unless we wake up to this harsh reality that Mother Nature is called Mother for a reason, and then, own up to that responsibility largely, and thereafter comes the built environment. I think that's my dream for Bangalore.
Thank you. But one thing I just want to say, if you have a vision plan and a resilience plan, and if you're able to enforce it, maybe there's a very small 1% chance that you can get your Bangalore of the, what it was known for. Thank you. Sowmya, your final take on this.
Yeah. Thank you. As working in a builder, I really know there's a lot of problem in the housing sector. The demand is so high, we're not able to cater to that requirement. Due to various reasons, the way we are functioning, the political system is functioning, the government is functioning. So maybe we would want to streamline this approval process. It's too bureaucratic. It takes months together, and office to office, and the person gets transferred. We are back to square one, and moreover, we are not able to even attack the main target people, like who are less privileged to even have a housing, affordable housing, or maybe a slum redevelopment or slum rehabilitation. I mean, this would really clean up the entire Bangalore hygiene if things get streamlined.
Thank you, Sowmya. I think that's the end of the questions. So now I leave it to the audience if anybody wants to, ask some questions to the panelists.
Do we have any questions over here? Can you please, can I have the hand mic being passed over there, please? There's mics. Huh? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Badresh. I head the MEP at Satwa. So certainly I agree with Krupa, like she mentioned about the power. because we are hardly utilizing whatever we install. So NBC calls for LT tariff, and you put up a huge substations, you put up a huge number of transformers and things like that, where we hardly use around 30% of the power required because of the diversity which is there. So we at Sattva have started with the HT tariff. Because with HT, what you get is you can design for 30% and upscale. So that is the thing what we have started the initiative under the guidance of Mr. Mahesh Ketan. So that is one thing which I think we could spread the news across so that everybody is benefited with that. That is
Any
the first thing.
questions?
Yeah, questions like Mr. Anup and to Mr. Ajay. So previously we used to do a lot of mixed use developments, and I think now we have moved on to flex buildings which are there. So except for the residential part of it. So do you think flex is the order of the day, and it is the mixed use can be put in the back burner?
I think Ajay should answer this.
I don't think we've stopped doing mixed-use developments. I think more and more we encourage mixed-use developments. If you see most of our projects now, if it's a large land parcels, we want to mix commercial and residential and retail aspects of it. I think Arnab talked about some sort of community engagement, bringing public inside, making them feel part of the entire development, some kind of public interface. So I think world over you see the most successful development are mixed use. And definitely we would encourage a lot more mixed use going forward. And we would also ask our civic authorities to help us, promote these mixed use developments, make it easier to get the permissions, make it not as complicated as it is to get sanctions and permissions for mixed use developments. But I think the answer to reduce mobility, to reduce traffic and congestion is mixed-use developments. And the more we promote it, I think the better it is for the city.
Yep. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Might be just want to add a couple more things to this. See, I think already as policy, you're looking at transit-oriented development, which is the hottest topic today, and believe that transit is going to take things forward. That's one method of looking at it. But I'll just go back to, because I have so many developer friends who are sitting here and the crowd. Sometimes we take projects, that her project to her project, they might be sitting one next to the other, and his project. We all do the subdivision of what your open space and civic amenities are there is quite glaring, right? And what happens is that the city itself is becoming pods of serious excellence. His project is of excellence, hers will be. But when it goes to the outside, what you were asking, generally fail. So it might make sense for us to actually go back and see whether there is this whole land pooling method which can be done. So I know if 4 developers are working on one street, is it worthwhile to go back and say, let's pool our open spaces, let's pool our civic amenities together. I think then it starts becoming far more productive rather than actually fragmenting these to small bits and pieces. I think that could be a very, I know it might sound very utopian, but there is this mechanism in the governance which you can say land pooling, and that could be a very acceptable proposition today. Then I think post giving the city what probably between Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan and then the British, of offering us the Kaban Park and the Lal Bagh, we don't have another large open space in the city. Probably one is coming up in Whitefield, which is a coconut grove, another 165 acres or so. Beyond that, I think what have we done? We've only fragmented our open spaces to small nothings, right? They've all become handkerchiefs which we are using. I feel that it should be critical thinking today from that end, right? So this is just an observation and point.
Very, very interesting thought. Yeah, any more questions?
We have bandwidth for one more question, and then we will be moving forward.
Hi, this is Priya.
Mike is gone there. Yeah.
Hi, this is Priya Prasanna. I work as an architect and a design manager, and I'm coming from Atkins Realist at the moment. After working in various fraternities, that is residential, commercial, educational, and again I'm back to mixes thing. Arnab, answering your question, I feel we hold a lot of power even in our hands as designers, and we are the creators to the extent where I'll take this opportunity with all the realtors being on the stage over here. We develop so many new establishments which kind of direct the behavior and the direction of people movement throughout the country. So my question is, here we are building so much and then, creating issues and then trying to achieve net zero. How about diversion? How much have we exceeded in diverting? We talk about Bangalore. Since we are in Bangalore right now, I'll talk about Bangalore because I come from Bombay. We are talking about, again, bringing in open green spaces and creating sustainability issues and getting in net zero factors. Why focus only on Bangalore? Go to another city, start developing over there, start populating more people, bring visibility for other small tier cities, and that's how you kind of divert the flow from a city like Bangalore to another city. So what's your take on this item? How do you think, do you have a next 10-year plan, 15-year plan for this? Thank you.
Hi. So thank you for your question. So there is one aspect that you must see. Why is everyone flocking to Mumbai? Why not, say, Nagpur? Why not Aurangabad? There is a reason, right? So that is what the business anchor is. That's the financial capital. This is the IT capital. Everyone is here for sustenance. All of us need a job. So job becomes your center of existence around which you build other usages. So that becomes the single driving factors, similar to our older civilization, which would be centered around water bodies. There's a river, there's a civilization that happens. So it's the need of that large human community that drives these things. So it's a little more intrinsic to human behavior than governance or us taking a call on this. Because where there are more opportunities, people flock to. Why do people flock to US? Why not Ireland or why not New Zealand? So that's where it's coming from. So all we can do is see how best we can cater to the needs of that developing community, make it more, like we spoke about, human-centric, and try to, stay and keep that nature or environment as unharmed as possible. So that's the attempt that all of us are going towards. Speaking of the mixed use that we also spoke, that's exactly the attempt, because we are thinking of 15-minute cities, 20-minute cities. That's what these townships are bringing. If your work, your home, your child's school, your entertainment, everything was in one place, there's no need for you to commute and create that unwanted traffic on the road. So that's the thought process of creating communities in the first place. So we have to kind of, look at it from a broader perspective, I think.
Just to add to that, I'm sure you're comparing Mumbai and Bangalore, fair enough, no problem with that. I'm sure he compared the traffic, that's also a problem. I have a problem with it because everybody comes to the city and complains about the traffic. That's fine, we can just park that conversation, I said. But I think it goes back to a very pertinent question. What you're asking is that, do we have a mechanism to actually map density, right? So from many points, from an administrative point, that if I've crossed this density, then you have to automatically take another method of reading it. If we don't map density, I think we will start failing in the system all over again. It comes from power, water, and everything from our resource consumption. So it means that density is one critical thing. That means even from an administrative point of view, that's all a city can take, right? Why do cities fail in their administration? Because the densities have shot up so high. So you might need 3 administrative centers for Bangalore or 4, because then probably, so the fractal is important. So if we are addressing fractal, I think the whole will start working better. So that's where the argument lies. I think it goes one step further, and this is from what you were talking about, this economic dividend, right? Our demographic dividend. Now, and that's important to capitalize. Like if you take a city like Mangalore today, it probably has the highest density of students within that travel distance of might be 25 kilometers. If you take Manipal on one side and then you take Mangalore University on the other side, how many of them actually stay back to do business, right? So that is a problem because even if you're dealing with that demographic dividend, which is transient in nature, then you're not able to fix the problem. So somewhere you need anchor, and that's going back to what you're saying. You need something to root that city, and that's why Tamil Nadu does well, right? You have how many economic centers, right? From Salem, Hosur, Madurai, and it goes on. I'm saying they've probably been smarter in their approach. So I think we need to couple both of these together to make it viable.
Thank you, Anup. I think that's thank you to all the panelists for their time and insights. It was a pleasure to moderate this session for Reality Plus. Big thank you also goes to the audience for their involvement and patience. I just want to end this session with a quote by Jan Gale, an eminent Dutch urban planner. He said that a good city is like a good party. People stay longer than really necessary. So, because they're enjoying themselves. So, I hope Bangalore becomes that party someday. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much to all of you. Please give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Innovation has been unlocked. Creativity has been certainly unlocked. I'll request Akshata Hegre, Product Manager from Vox India, to kindly please join us over here on stage and hand over the token of appreciations to all of them. Please give it up for all of them once again, please, as we hand them over the token of appreciation. Request you all to stand and we'll do a nice group photo after that. Brilliant stuff, superb. On that note, we'll do a nice group photo together with all of you. I'll request all of you to come forward and let's keep the appreciation going in, please. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people over here in this room. सब लोग full passion के साथ ताली बजाएंगे तो बहुत जोर से आवाज आएगा. Yes, that's what it is. That's what we want. Come on, make some noise. Thank you so much for sharing all the knowledge and insights that you all have. Thank you so much, Akshata ji, for coming up on stage and doing this. Thank you.